liberalism and a liberal foreign policy was the way the vast majority of Europeans thought about the world. Many of you probably, or many of the younger people in the audience probably find this hard to believe, but that was the case during the unipolar moment. And we adopted a very liberal foreign policy. You want to understand that NATO expansion into Eastern Europe, which starts in 1994, that's when the Clinton administration decides to expand NATO. 99 is the first tranche. That, of course, is when Hungary is brought in. 2004 is the second tranche. It was not aimed at containing Russia. It was aimed at spreading the Western liberal order that had sprouted up in the western part of Europe during the Cold War towards the East. It was a very liberal foreign policy. And a number of realists argue, people like me, people like George Kennan, right, and numerous other people, including the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, this is in the 1990s, that if you move NATO eastward, and especially if you went into Ukraine, the Russians were going to react. This was basic realist logic at play. And the fact is that the Clinton administration, the vast majority of Europeans, refused to accept that logic. They thought about the world in very liberal terms. This is one of the principal reasons that most Europeans today and most Americans today fail to appreciate the fact that Russia sees NATO expansion into Ukraine as an existential threat. Any good realist would understand axiomatically that if you take a military alliance that was a mortal enemy of the Soviet Union during the Cold War and you march it up to Russia's doorstep, the Russians are going to be scared. They're going to be really scared, and they're going to react. That's a realist worldview at play. But Europe was dominated by liberals, as was the United States. This is a different way of thinking about international politics. The balance of power is largely irrelevant now. We don't have to worry about that. What we want to do is spread institutions like the EU and NATO eastward. We want to spread democracy eastward. We want to spread economic independence. We want to get the East Europeans hooked on capitalism and so forth and so on. And the end result is we'll all live happily ever after. Well, it didn't work out very well. And you now have a situation in Europe where I believe that, except for places like Hungary, where there are realists and a few other small enclaves in Europe, I think liberal thinking about international politics and liberal thinking about Ukraine still dominates. And the end result is we have gotten ourselves, and we are now in deep trouble because we didn't think like good realists.